Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
This week we're joined with returning guest Dan Charlton and returning guest Jonathan Franklin and returning guest Jeff Ribeiro and also Joshua Munoz from Android Authority. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
What's up, guys?
Glad to have you here. So this week on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the Android ecosystem here in the beginning. We're just going to start all over since we're only 10 seconds into it. and we're going to edit that out. So, okay. So you didn't see any of that. People are just joining right now anyways. All right. So welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Hangout show for Android on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
And this week we're joined by returning guest Dan Charlton, returning guest Jeff Ribeiro, and returning guest Jonathan Franklin. We're also joined by Joshua Munoz from Android Authority. Welcome, guys.
What's up, guys?
Hey, I made it through that one good. Okay, so this week we have a few things to talk about besides some giveaways. You heard maybe some details and some Nexus 10 information this week with Google Play Music and some Play Store updates and so forth. We're going to talk about some other apps such as Ingress, which is an incredibly addicting and fun augmented reality game. We're also going to talk about some devices such as the HTC Droid DNA. Its bootloader being unlocked recently, and the Nexus 4 has working LTE for some of you. Interesting. Over Rootin' and Ramen, we're going to hit up some CM 10.1 information, and then Dan's going to come in and hit hard on patent wars and tell us a little bit about HTC's deal with Apple with the proposed $6 to $10 per device, and Samsung's doing some fun stuff too. With carrier news, T-Mobile is continuing to HSPA plus all the things, unless you're me. And like I said, we're going to get into the Nexus 10 giveaway and Ingress invites later on in the show. So we're a little bit late this week. We're supposed to be on Thursday, but as all you know, Thursday was Thanksgiving here in the U.S. So how's you guys' Thanksgiving, Dan? Actually, I met Dan for the first time earlier today on his way home from Thanksgiving. He was traveling to D.C., and on his way home through PA, I took about an hour drive to meet him this morning. It was a lot of fun, a little bit of Android geeking out over some Quiznos.
Yeah. It's nice. Get lunch. Finally, actually meet you in person and sit around talking about Android.
Yeah, I know.
Because we do that so rarely.
Yeah, so Jeff, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Dealing with family.
Yeah. How about you, John? Did you travel at all?
Nah, well, not outside the normal. I mean, my family's about 30 minutes away from me. So gotta see a little family, eat a little bit of bird, and nothing.
It's always good to eat a little bit of bird.
Yeah,
so,
get a little bird in there.
Yep. So Josh, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Really interesting thing, talking about meeting another Android fanatic. I was out in Plano, Texas, hanging out with some old high school buds, and I went to go pick up Nexus 4 from T-Mobile. The guy ringing me out recognized me from Google+, even though we'd never met each other. Yeah, his name's Jody Barnes, and he just looks at me and goes,
"Oh, Jody's actually one of our friends. Jody is watching right now." I met Jody at the Big Android Barbecue with John a few weeks back. Yeah, Jody's one of our buddies. That's pretty cool.
It was a trip. I was like, I'm from Austin. I'm a teacher, and he goes, "Are you on Google Plus?" I go, "Yeah, I am." He goes, "You're Joshua Munoz." I was like, "Yes, I am."
Well, he's a stalker. It's cool. That's pretty awesome. I said Jody usually tunes into the show, so he's probably watching right now.
Very cool.
Yeah, and Scott, how about up north there? Any exciting Thanksgiving?
I went down south to Iowa for a couple days. I had a good time with the family. The Android numbers in relatives is growing. iOS devices are definitely, some people have the 5, but Android devices are growing, and we had a lot to talk about, so it was fun.
My two little cousins were walking around with their iPads, and I was there with my Nexus 4, and my uncle had a Kindle Fire, and we were fine using the Wi-Fi there, but my little cousins were like, "We can't get on Wi-Fi," and they came up to me, their older cousin, to help them out. I looked at it and said, "That's because it's an iOS device," and I said, "Uncle Jim, how's your Android device going?" "Mine's fine," It was a big laugh. I was a nice guy and helped him out there.
Humorously, a couple of close friends of mine and family have converted from iOS to Android this year.
Good.
Really?
You gotta keep fighting the good fight, you know.
Just keep fighting.
I am outnumbered probably 10 to 1 where I work. It's like me and 2 other band directors and all of our private lesson teachers. Everybody uses Apple, and every time they start talking about Android, they go, "Oh, so when are you gonna get an iPhone?" Like normal people. I was like, never.
Just remember,
Normal
resistance is
15%
futile.
of the market.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the meat of the show here. So Scott, some Android ecosystem information.
Yeah, Google Play Music. Google basically reached a deal with Harmonia. I think that's how you spell it or say it. A European publishing group, and this adds 5.5 million songs to the Play Store. And what's really big about this is Google's not really taking it country by country. They're trying to do this all in one big swoop, which in the future I hope it continues to be like this, but it'll be a little bit more delayed. But they got it up and running in 35 different countries, which is awesome. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Google's sort of trying to change the paradigm in the music industry where they're trying this sort of method of, we're going to license your music, period. No further qualifications on that. We're licensing it to sell it all around the world because we work and we're a business all around the world. Whereas everybody else that does online sales like this, Amazon, Apple, all of that, they have to kind of piece it together country by country. And it's a lot of hassle just to get the licenses in place to be able to sell all the music, let alone actually running the store.
Look at how long it took for Spotify to come to America because of having to make
That was many years.
a good little while. And
I wonder at what point Google said, "Hey, we should really just attack everything," as opposed to, label by label.
Well, you got to remember, I'm sure Google doesn't seek out a recording industry or a recording studio to not bring into the Play Store. They got to reach a deal too. Ultimately they want to have the best content system, the best ecosystem available. It's only a matter of dollars and cents and coming up with the right contract, I'm sure.
Yeah,
especially coming into it as late in the game, technically speaking, as they did. When you had iTunes totally turned the music industry on its head when it came out, and finally somebody is trying to, like you said, change the paradigm further so they can be, on top of the heap yet again, because they've got a lot of room to make up, and they've got a lot of ground that they need to catch up to, especially against Amazon and iTunes.
Okay, so moving on, we got kind of a teardown by Android Police. They did a teardown of the Google Play Store, the APK, and it looks like we're going to have to be required to have a Google Plus account to do app reviews. A couple things I like about this. No more anonymous reviews. They actually, some people like anonymous reviews. Other people don't, because they can actually see who did the review, and they can actually, it means something, as opposed to a whole bunch of people spamming and just going 1 star, 1 star, things like that. I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is a big push for Google Plus. What do you guys think?
From a developer aspect, it means you can actually follow up with that guy who commented something negative, follow up with that person and say, hey, look, I made these changes, or what can we do to find out what your problem is, or talk the person through how to get some logs about it. So it gives developers a means to actually get some real, meaningful feedback out of those comments. Plus, you have to have a Facebook account to comment on all kinds of crap all over the internet. So I really don't see a problem with this.
And you know what? I think it's going to be great for if I actually like an app really well, I can just share a little review feedback I did directly with my circles on Google Plus versus having to go write a separate review elsewhere. So for the real quick and dirty, hey, I like this for these reasons. That don't need a full-blown blog article about. I think that's great. I think it's a step in the right direction, and it cuts down on anonymous spam comments or unhelpful comments. If only we could do away with some of those on YouTube. I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, not just the sort of the anonymous spammy ones, but the app maker who fills out 47 reviews saying how awesome the app is.
Sure.
They wouldn't be able to do that either.
I think this is great just because, having used Google Plus for a really long time, when you get a new phone and it asks you to sign up for Google Plus, it's important that Google finally tries to tie all the services truly together. Like, we just saw them roll out where you can invite or share an app so people can install it straight from your stream, requiring you to have Google Plus to review and comment and things like that. Only further pushes their social aspect, which is something that a lot of people, despite having met a guy that I've never met in real life in a city that I never go to, all of my other friends still say, oh, Google Plus is a failed service. And I just disagree with that on merit. And so the more that they can get people to use the ecosystem, the better it's going to benefit them, and then hopefully the network users as well. So you can finally start seeing some real uptick in involvement and stuff like that.
Yeah, also moving on, we got some Black Friday deals over the weekend. Basically, they're ongoing. I don't know when they're going to end, but Office Suite Pro, usually $14.99, is $6.99. Quick Office Pro is $14.99. It's now 99 cents. Swift Key for phone or tablet, it's usually $3.99, and it's 99 cents. Groove IP is $4.99, and it's on sale for $2.49. Reddit Sync Pro is $2, and it's on sale for $1. And there are a lot of apps. There are also big deals on money off of in-app purchases, which is kind of nice. If you guys do in-app purchases, I don't, but if you want some deals
I
on
actually
that.
finally bought the full version of Groove IP due to the sale. I've always just used the free light version.
Same here.
Yeah, but it was for, it was down to $2.50 from $5. So I figured why not? I mean, there's probably, I don't know, there's probably 100 apps out there that are, I don't know how many. There's so many games and productivity apps as well. Just got to really look for them.
Yeah, I think they also have discounts on books, movies, and music in the Play Store.
Yeah, they got some really good deals on. Also, there's a couple of TV seasons, TV show seasons that are $10, full seasons, which is actually pretty good. Like there's 80% off books, and music. There's some really good deals too.
So let's talk about Ingress. Some of you are probably here for Ingress. Ingress recently launched, and if you don't know what it is, the real quick and dirty version is it's a augmented reality game, and there is a high demand for it. It's gone almost viral, I think, especially on Google Plus. For the past week, it's been the #1 or at least the top 5 trending topic every single day, all day long. Like, people are sharing Ingress information, they're asking for invites, they're asking for codes, they're sharing tips and tricks, and people are forming their own little social pockets of resistance or enlightened around the world. But so what is it, real quick? It's an augmented reality game. So that means you hold your phone out in front of you, and you see something on your phone that you don't see with your eye in real life. So you look on your phone and you see little dots of energy. You see portals. You see fields that people created. But obviously, they're not really there. Or if you buy into the role playing enough, they are really there. A lot of people are really getting heavily involved in it, and that's awesome. I think that's very cool. So, anyways, CERN did some stuff and with a Large Hadron Collider, and all sorts of weird, funky stuff happened till now there's new energy particles coming all over the world, and there's portals appearing, by places of interest, landmarks, post office, fire department, things like that, museums, and where these portals are, people go and capture the portal, they drop down devices to make it their own, and then you link other portals together and create big fields, basically, to try to harness the minds that are maybe being corrupted, maybe not. That's part of the game. The one group of people called the Enlightened think that this new energy is good, and it's the next, it's the evolution of the human race. It's good for the humans, and the Resistance says, hold on, wait a second, this is changing humanity. We don't want to do this. So you choose a faction, you choose a side, and it's a global game that is real time. You can chat with people in your region and your locally, and work with people. And you really have to work with people locally, especially when you start to grow your fields, your grid. When you want to take over more territory, you're gonna have to work with people in the next town over, the next region over, as your portals get bigger and bigger. So it's fun to play. I think Jeff is playing it right now, or somebody's playing it right now. All right, Josh.
I opened it up just.
I just heard Josh get some XMs. He's leveling right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. And you know what? It's going to get you some exercise, or spend gas, depending on which way you do it. You know. But you're not really allowed to drive and look at your phone. It's legal in a lot of states, so you gotta be careful. So
you get caught.
So right now it's invite only. You can request an invite from Ingress.com. You can maybe wait a week or so or more, depending on how many people are signing up for this game. Some people are getting invites early. Some people are still waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Other people are getting very creative and asking for invites in special ways on Google+. They're getting recognized by Googlers that are handing out invites, and they're making a cool piece of artwork, or they're a cool graphic, or they're telling a neat story to invoke interest in the game, and various Googlers are then giving them invites for their participation, and also for helping the hashtag continue to trend. So they're getting invites that way. But if you aren't lucky enough, if you're not talented enough to do artwork, you're not creative enough to, or you're just lazy, we have the solution for you. We have a handful of codes to give away for Ingress. We're going to give away 2 this week, and we're going to give away 2 next week, and maybe 2 the week after. So keep tuning in to the show if you don't win tonight. So I'm going to defer to Jeff here, my buddy, that is going to hook you guys up with the first code. Now, later in the show, we're going to give away another code, so if you don't win this code now, don't worry. Keep watching, keep paying attention. You might want to open up your Ingress app now. You might want to get to the section where it says enter your passcode. And we'll give you a few seconds here. Like I said, if you don't win this code, we're going to, later in the show, we're going to give you another chance to win your Ingress invite. And then if you do win, please let us know. Let us know in the comments, either on YouTube if you're watching there, or if you're watching hopefully on Google+, we can interact with you. Let us know there that you won the code and how awesome Jeff is and all that good stuff. So Jeff,
we ready?
You ready? All right. So take over. Take control. Drive for a second.
Ooh.
All right. So basically, I'm going to read out the code, and the first one to successfully enter it wins it. So.
How long is the code?
What's that?
How long is the code?
The code is
like
8 characters long.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
Case sensitive.
So the first code is.
Is it case sensitive?
It's not case sensitive. You can enter it.
But it is alphanumeric.
It's alphanumeric. I'm going to read out letters like alpha for A, Bravo for B. I'm not going to read them out just like that. So first code is Whiskey, Bravo, Kilo, Alpha, X-Ray, Victor, Charlie, Juliet.
Have at it. Do 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 do. So,
is there any chance we'll get a code that's like 1234 1234? Or have we exhausted all those options already?
Yeah, those codes went away the first day. I'll tell you what. There was a thread on Google Plus about a week ago where codes were being given out, and man, to fight for those codes was tough. I tried all night long and didn't get one, but I eventually got one. From sharing an Android with the Ingress logo on his chest, and I guess I was creative enough to get an Ingress invite, and I've been playing ever since.
I'm
excited.
excited.
All right, so while we're waiting,
guys are requesting it to be repeated.
All right, repeat. All right, so
the code again, in case you missed it, is Whiskey, Bravo, Kilo, Alpha, X-Ray, Victor, Charlie, Juliet.
And that's Juliet with a J.
Oh, crap. I thought it was Juliet with an R.
That's a great comment. What is an Ingress?
It's a very good question.
It is an Ingress.
So, all right, so either one, the code is bad, or you're not typing it incorrectly, or Jeff messed up. Which it could be Jeff. It could be Jeff's fault.
I don't think it's Jeff.
It's not Jeff.
I mean, if it's already used up, I mean,
yeah. If the code does not work for you, then
somebody already got it.
Yeah, somebody claimed it.
It's a one-time code. So one person out there, one viewer, is going to get the code, and it's going to be the first one who enters it.
So chances are somebody already snagged it, because that was a brand new code that has never been used. So congrats to the lucky winner. Let us know who you are so we can Yeah, let us know who you are so we can high-five you virtually.
And join the resistance, because that's who you should join.
Viva la Resistance. or Enlightenment, whatever.
If you're going to do another giveaway later tonight as well.
Yeah, so continuing on, let's talk about another app here. So CyanogenMod's Apollo Music app was released to the Play Store beginning of the week this week, on Monday. The Apollo app is CyanogenMod's open source music app. And up until recently, it was only available through CyanogenMod. And they said, well, this app is awesome. It should be available to anybody. They don't have to root their phone to be able to use it. They don't have to be running a CM-ROM to use it. Let's make it available through the Play Store. So they did. And it was a hit. And then it was removed later in the week. And the developer released a statement saying, hey, just to let those of you notice that the Apollo and the Apollo Plus app are no longer available in the Play Store. Music Match filed a complaint and had them removed for alleged copyright infringement due to the way that Apollo fetches song lyrics. The developer currently says he's looking into the best way to handle this, and he'll try to get it back up there as soon as possible. That's all he knows for now. So hopefully he can get that resolved and get it back up there. It was nice to have a nice, open source music app up there available for people to get that aren't rocking CM currently.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yes.
And this is just to you guys. Do any of you use music locally on your phone, or does everybody stream via Pandora or Google Play?
Sometimes I cache it, depending on if I want to or not, but I have about 3 albums or the equivalent to that many songs cached on my phone.
I'd still consider that cloud-based, though.
Yeah, because it's cached from... For me, the big thing is I really like Apollo, and I like how it looks, and I like how it functions, and I've been using CM for a while, but if Google's never going to open up a music API, then that makes it dead on arrival for me. It makes Apollo useless.
I agree completely.
When I've opened up...
There's the unofficial music API that allows you, but I'd love to see Google just go ahead and free it up.
I used the app a few times when it first came out in CM-ROMs, ICS, CM9, I guess, is when it first came out, and I used it then for a little bit and thought, that's cool, but wait a second, I have no music locally anymore. It's all on all through Google Music, and then since then I've been removing the CM bloatware, as I like to call it. Every single time I'd flash a new nightly, I'd go in. The first thing I did was remove Apollo. The second thing I removed was Browser, and the second thing I removed was Trebuchet. I didn't want those apps. I don't use them, so I deleted them every time I flashed a new nightly. It's a great app, but it's useless to me, like you said, Josh. I have all my music in the cloud through Google, so that it's no point in me having it.
Yeah. So
but not everybody has cloud. Maybe they live in an area with Edge only, and they need to download all of their music locally.
Edge is plenty to stream music.
You know what, Dan? It was on the way home today from Breezewood until I lost service. You know what? The next 5 or 6
of course. No service is not sufficient to stream anything.
For me, it's just...
I lost service, and you know what? 5 or 6 songs played, and it was great. I loved it.
Because Edge is only sufficient to stream it.
And then I looked at my Galaxy Nexus beside me, and I looked at my speed test on the 4G LTE that got 18 meg down, and I looked at my Nexus 4 in the other hand that had 0 service, and a little part of me died.
Well,
but that's a rant for later in the show if we have time.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. I totally agree with what you're saying, but if we look at sample sizes and people who only use music locally who are also using CM10 so they can use Apollo, I feel like streaming in Google Play Music is kind of a power user thing, which is also kind of what a person who flashes does. So
yeah,
I kind of get torn up if you're using music locally, you're probably not using Google Play Music anyways. You're probably still using Sense on your phone or something like that. So.
All right, so one last app here, but then we'll move on to some more exciting stuff. If you are an Amazon shopper and you wanted a better tablet experience, now you have that. The Amazon mobile app, it was updated to a really nice tablet UI, actually. It makes shopping easier if you wanted to use the tablet UI for shopping. So there you go. So Scott, tell us about some devices, some interesting information.
Actually, Scott,
what?
Somebody on YouTube does say that they nabbed the code.
Oh.
I apologize in advance if I butcher this name. It looks like Kal or Kale.
We'll just say okay. That's what the initials are. Okay. So congrats, okay. We are glad. We're glad you won.
So for the Google Plus watchers who aren't seeing somebody in the comments, somebody really did claim it. It wasn't a fake code.
With regards to the Amazon mobile, I complained about it, and 2 days later they changed it. So, I move us forward, guys.
Thank you, Scott.
We're very appreciative.
Somebody has to, and I'm glad you took that role on.
Good job, Scott.
Even though Google would prefer that you used Google Shopper.
Scott, you keep doing things like that, and you're going to redeem yourself from that Nexus backdoor thing the other week.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think I blacked out.
All right, so let's talk about some devices.
Okay, Galaxy Nexus, Yakju, Android 4.2, November 20th began rolling out over the air, and you can also manually download it as a factory image.
Or the OTA update, you can apply that via ADB sideload if you didn't get it yet, and you're waiting to get it.
Okay, and then with regards to LTE, that was rumored for a long time. The Nexus 4 does have some type of LTE support. It supports LTE on AWS. Canadian LTE providers right now are able to get it. Some carriers in South and Latin America. And T-Mobile in 2013, Metro PCS and Verizon. Also AT&T. There are a couple markets, I believe, that they are running that. I think that
they were planning on rolling out AWS there, and then they failed to buy T-Mobile and had to pay them $5 billion and a crap load of AWS spectrum.
Right, which is all that.
Pretty much out of spite, AT&T is not doing anything with their remaining AWS. T-Mobile is going to put their LTE there. Metro PCS already has LTE there, but alongside a CDMA backbone that's not going to help you with the Nexus 4. And Verizon has some that they may or may not use to put LTE on down the road. But again, you've got the CDMA problem, and they have no immediate plans to use that spectrum.
So the big thing about this is we saw in the iFixit teardown is that it was lacking a amplifier.
Yep.
How well does it actually work? I wonder. Do you have to have great signal for it to work?
I would think so.
If you move outside of the 4-bar range, let's say, and you're down to the 1-bar range, is it going to be zero service? You know what I mean? Well is it? That's
probably going to drain the hell out of your battery.
Oh yeah. I mean, it also doesn't have a dedicated.
That would be I think it might be a long handshake.
It doesn't have a dedicated antenna for it either, so it's kind of bleaching around the HSPA Plus that's in the same band.
And you gotta also remember, which I'm sure doesn't really affect too many people watching this, but it's actually illegal to do since it's not a ratified band to use. Regulators actually care about that. But I'm not saying that they're going to come knock on your door or anything in Canada. I mean, I don't think any Mounties are going to come knock on your door and be like, listen, we were doing some frequency scans here. We noticed an unregistered device in the vicinity of your house was using an LTE service from an unknown.
Sure, you're not supposed to be on the spectrum.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, as we were saying, I mean your battery is going to probably suffer, and I'm just assuming you move far enough away from the tower, and you're not going to.
Yeah.
You're going to lose service. Now, obviously, I don't know this. I mean, that's just my assumption. I could be talking out my butt and not know what I'm talking about.
Do it on yours and see how long your battery lasts.
Well, first I got to go visit.
There's no AWS LTE around.
Now, I wonder, would carriers at all be able to sense that you're doing it, or by the data pull, I guess they could. Whoa, this is pulling way faster than our typical network pulls.
I mean, it'd be difficult for them to isolate that if they weren't looking for it.
Okay. Nexus 4 went on sale on T-Mobile, their webpage. And
What?
Yeah, and it sold out hours after the Google Play Store.
Yeah, so Google said, hey, we don't have it for sale, but we know somebody who does, and they linked to it, and then the F5 button took over, and T-Mobile sold it out.
Yeah, the really bizarre thing, I don't know what the status was of their online sales, but like here in Austin, only 2 stores even got inventory on the launch day. So I mean, it kind of calls into question like that whole inventory, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like they just did not anticipate the demand.
But I mean, yeah, when I called this T-Mobile place in Frisco and said, "Hey, do you guys have any in stock?" and they actually said yes, I said, "Well, can you hold one for me? I'll be there in 15 minutes." And they said, "Well, they're selling out pretty quick, so you need to get here immediately." I thought,
yeah,
somebody's gonna buy it in 15 minutes before I can get there. Like, this is ridiculous.
So one of the users in the comments just said that he heard iFixit was wrong and that the amplifier was actually there under the heatsink. But LG actually came out and said that it's missing the filter and the amplifier, so I'm not sure if that's accurate.
No, it is definitely not there. It's not hidden under the heatsink at all. They didn't put it in because it's expensive. And, you know, you got to lose some things like an expensive amplifier if you want to sell a $300 device.
And, you know, the whole reason that it does have this limited support is because it's virtually the same board that's in the Optimus G. You know, so if you're going to stamp out boards, you're not going to make, and you're trying to save money, you're not going to give a whole new schematics, a whole new design. You're going to use one that with the least amount of changes as possible to save money, and that's most likely what happened. Or you can go in conspiracy theory and say in a year from now you'll be able to use it on T-Mobile or whatever.
That would be nice.
Put on your tinfoil hats right now, you know.
The waiting game begins again. The HTC Droid DNA or the Droid Dix.
DLX.
Yeah.
On the show, Josh, we referred to it as the HTC Dix for the longest time, the DIX, the DLX, you know.
I see.
We have so many acronyms for it, it's crazy.
DLX.
It was unlocked prior to its release. The unlocker was pulled at the device launch, and now it is community unlocked now.
So basically, the unlock that's out there for it, you through some Android hackery, you can fake it to be a different device, basically. And you do some Android hackery, some ADB commands, ADB restore, and you can then trick the device into being able to be unlocked through. It doesn't actually say on the htcdev.com. It doesn't say Droid DNA. It says other supported devices.
Right.
So it can now be unlocked through the other unsupported devices.
Okay. So it's similar to what they did with the AT&T One X, where they spoofed it into being a Rogers One X and then unlocked it that way.
Right. I think
that's still possible. Like HTC hasn't shut that down.
They haven't shut it down as of yet.
HTC sort of backdoor bitch slap at the carriers.
That could be true.
Yeah.
So we actually have a comment to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S4 8-core processor that's coming out.
Good God.
We have that actually slated, but coming up right now, coincidentally. So Dan, being our resident hardware guru, what do you think about that rumor?
Yeah, I mean, it's people say 8-core CPU, and you think, oh my God, 8 cores, that's fantastic. The part that you don't notice with that is that's 8 cores in a big little formation. So it's 2 clusters of 4 cores. They're not simultaneously active. It's one relatively lower power and less, by which I mean more power efficient but less actually powerful, quad-core ARM processor that handles menial tasks, and then when you need actual oomph, it hands up to a quad-core Cortex A15 processor. This has Samsung is planning to announce the chip in the fall, by which they're saying we're going to have the spec together and be ready to kind of talk about how awesome it's going to be. Not ready to show it off in a test device. Ready to talk about how awesome it's going to be down the road. So people wondering about this being in the S4, not even a remote chance in hell. Right.
Yeah,
The only
if
Cortex
anything, I would think a tablet before a phone.
Yeah, the only Cortex A15 that they can build at all right now is in the Nexus 10 and the new Chromebook, and it's in those devices and not phones because they can't get the power footprint low enough to put it in phones. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Adding 2 more cores and then 4 more on top of that isn't going to fix that problem for them and make that more phone friendly. They'll target these big little 8-core processors for tablets and for servers probably.
Couldn't they just use like last year's cores and put 8 of them together?
Yeah, but
I guess they weren't as efficient as the ones are now.
Yeah. So the smaller set of cores would not even be comparable to like A9, the sort of previous generation. It's a smaller one. I think it's A5 actually, which is a smaller in terms of power and output processor, but it's a sort of well-refined specification that's very efficient and used in a lot of other things.
It'd be a pretty similar thing to what NVIDIA is doing with the Tegra 3 right now.
It is similar in concept, yeah. So the big little architecture came out after.
I mean, the cores themselves aren't inherently efficient, but it's a race to idle configuration where you get the task done, you drop down to the low power footprint quicker.
Yeah, and then switch to the lower power processor to idle on.
So those of you that didn't get a Nexus 10, it's actually available in the Play Store right now. The 16 gig and 32 gig became available the other day.
I thought you said Nexus 4, and I was about to go there.
No, speaking of Nexus 4, the winner was announced earlier in the week for the Tyler. I don't remember his name. I didn't write it down. Tyler something. So congrats, Tyler something, on winning the Nexus 4.
Is it Tyler
Great last name
from Fight Club?
Yeah, but he won the device. And speaking of giveaways and so forth, we're gonna get to that Nexus 10 giveaway details here in a little bit. But first, let's talk about some carrier information, Dan.
Yeah, so T-Mobile, as you mentioned, is spreading their HSPA Plus on the iPhone-friendly PC S-band. That's the 1900 megahertz. Until recently, T-Mobile has just had Edge on this, and so iPhone users who are skirting away from AT&T and going to T-Mobile have been pretty much just stuck on that particular band.
What's wrong with Edge, Dan?
I mean, nothing's wrong with Edge at all.
If you're into that sort of thing, it's.
But they have been working to roll out HSPA Plus, and this is the same dual-channel 42 megabit that they have on their AWS spectrum. And so they've been working to spread that, which means that iPhones on their network will be capable of much, much faster data speeds than iPhones without LTE on AT&T's network. So they're adding another 10 metro areas, mostly in California, Arizona, and Florida. And they're also planning a lot more to come soon, including, I think, Los Angeles and Chicago and New York, where basically what they're doing is lighting out the HSPA Plus and then doing a whole lot of testing and then making sure they're ready to actually say it's official and then making a press release about it. So people right now in New York and LA and Chicago and a lot of other places are probably already getting these faster speeds. So great for them. I mean, it's still not LTE, but it's going to put T-Mobile in a much stronger position when they go to LTE. And then Everything Everywhere, the T-Mobile UK and I think it's Orange sort of joint venture, the one and only LTE carrier in the UK right now. They've finally gone live with their LTE, and we finally got some actual speed tests back out of it. It looks to be comparable to about where Verizon's was at launch, where you're getting peaks up into the mid-20s and higher. So it's definitely about double the speed of the HSPA Plus carriers in the UK right now, so a huge, huge bonus. It is not as fast as what Everything Everywhere is saying it's going to be, and it's still pretty patchy. So where you get coverage from it, it's pretty good, but there's still a lot of places where you just don't get coverage.
There's still a lot of places in the UK where they're only getting Edge.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. But people are apparently surprised with how well it's doing indoors, because it is on a higher frequency, and so it should, theoretically, it should not penetrate walls as easily as a lower frequency like where, say, Verizon or AT&T's LTE is. But they've been getting really, really great test results indoors, so good for the UK. So yeah, in addition to the Ingress giveaways, we're also giving away a code for Nexus 10. Scott's going to talk a little bit about that giveaway.
Hopefully I don't butcher it this time.
We made it a code that you could not mess up this time.
Just to let you guys know, the code is not backdoor, and we use a doc to look over the notes for the show, and the code is in size 64 font.
Did you make it bigger so you wouldn't mess it up? All right, so
okay, so we're giving away a Galaxy Nexus 10. Nexus 10.
We're not giving away a Net Galaxy.
Oh my God, I butcher it every single time.
Calm down.
Okay, Nexus 10, giving it away internationally, so everybody can join in on the fun.
It is a 16 gigabyte Nexus 10. If anybody's wondering.
Yes, it's the 16.
So we're gonna revoke your contest.
I agree. Take it away.
Your contest privileges. All right. Okay. So, anyways, Scott.
Okay, so how you enter is on the website on the top, AndroidAuthority.com. On the top, there's the article about the Nexus 10, and if you scroll on to the bottom, there's a rafflecopter, and you can get points by doing certain things.
You're up to 14 points in total, doing things like tweeting about the contest, subscribing to the YouTube page, following them on Google+, plus winning the page, and you can actually get 2 chances to win from using the code that we're going to give away here tonight, and then another 2 chances to win from the code we'll give away next week.
And is it going to be a completely different code, so don't enter it twice, it won't count.
Okay,
yeah,
so
the code, you can get lots and lots of chances to win.
Okay, so the code for this week is going to be Ingress. INGRESS.
Okay, good job, Scott. All right, so the code is Ingress for the 16 gig Nexus 10 giveaway. Let's continue on here for Rootin' and Ramen this week. I said we had some sneak peek information from the CM team over the past few days, and they've been posting on Google+, kind of teasing, what they have done so far. So the theme engine for 10.1, which is Android 4.2, has been updated, and it's up and running. And we have seen screenshots for the Galaxy Tab 2, the Galaxy S, the i9000, the Galaxy W, the Sprint Galaxy Nexus. So Sprint Galaxy Nexus users, you haven't been forgotten about. The Transformer Prime.
Yes.
The Epic 4G, it's still kicking. The Galaxy Tab 10.1, and we also saw a screenshot for the Galaxy S2 running CM 10.1. So those devices, obviously there's going to be plenty more running CM 10.1, but right now we've seen leaks for those. So that's cool, keep us interested.
Is it just me, or does CM seem to have something of a Samsung bias since...
I wonder why.
Since one of their developers went to work for Samsung.
Yeah.
Oh, I think bootloaders help too a ton.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you don't see the Nexus 4. You don't see the.
Yeah, but obviously the Nexus 4 is going to work. Obviously the Galaxy, Nexus is going to work. They're posting devices that don't normally get a lot of love right away. That's at least what I think.
Well, you can't build the AOSP for Nexus 4 yet, right?
Sure.
They're merging. Is it totally in?
Well,
it just doesn't have the prop files, which you can rip off the device.
You can just rip them off the device. Yeah. I mean, you can build a ROM without the binaries. People are already doing it.
Stop doing that.
Stop ruining the device, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's really it for Rootin' and Ramen this week. I mean, apps have been updated to unlock the bootloader if you're a point-and-click type person, and you need to point-and-click to unlock your bootloader on the Nexus 10 or the Nexus 4, and you need to put a custom recovery on it, and you don't know how. Apps have been updated this past week, fully working with custom recovery and all that good stuff, but nothing major this week in my opinion. So
I wrote some sick init scripts if anybody wants to tap into it. I'll load them on Google Drive for you or something. So.
init D or init.T?
Both.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about some carrier news, Dan. Also known as Dan's Whiny Time.
You mean Pat Morris? Yeah. So more details about the HTC Apple licensing agreement have come out. For one thing, HTC very much vehemently denied the idea that they're paying $6 to $8 per device and suggested that that was outrageous and ridiculous. So they're definitely paying something less than that. We still don't know what that amount is. There was also recently an article on FOSS patents that said that as part of that agreement, both parties were giving up all of their claims against each other with prejudice, and that is not true. HTC is giving up all of their claims with prejudice, which means basically HTC is backing out of all of their claims against Apple without leave to file them again later. In contrast, Apple is releasing their claims without prejudice. So if Apple chooses to, they can decide to sue HTC again for all of the same stuff again later. So, that's probably something that HTC decided to just eat because they're getting, a licensing agreement that pretty much prevents them from getting sued in that fashion. And they're getting it for less than $6 to $8 a device. So considering Apple was asking $30 to $40 for these patents, sounds like HTC is getting away with a steal on this. More on that same agreement, though. Samsung is going to get to see an unredacted copy, complete with all of the dollar amounts and the specific patents that are included. They had seen a redacted version previously that was cut down by Apple to a whopping 33 words. The entire agreement, 33 words, were not blacked out. But Apple has been claiming that not only do they need the $1 billion that the jury awarded them, they need the judge to triple those damages, and they need the judge to ban all of Samsung's devices. They've been saying that they need all of these things because just the monetary damages aren't enough to make us whole, because we, Apple, would never, ever, ever dream of licensing these patents. They're too important to us. And the day after they filed that, the news broke that they'd signed this licensing agreement with HTC. So pretty clearly they are willing to license those things, and that really, really undermines their entire argument for banning import of Samsung's devices after the big, their big loss. So that's not shaping up good for Apple. And then in Samsung and Apple's other case in California, both parties are trying to add a bunch more devices into it. We saw recently Apple was able to add the Jelly Bean running Galaxy Nexus. They're now trying to add the Jelly Bean running Galaxy S3, along with the Note 2, the SGS3 Mini, and the Tab 2. Meanwhile, Samsung's going to get to add the iPad Mini and the new iPad. So basically every mobile device that Apple makes is added on their side, and just about every mobile device that Samsung sells in the US is on their list.
Is that the official title, the new iPad? It's the iPad Mini, right?
Yeah, there's the iPad Mini, and then I don't know what the other one
smaller.
is. Just the new iPad again.
The new iPad
longer its name.
3.5, yeah. It's starting to sound like an Android device now. Even
You know what, though? I heard somebody say when I was out and about the other day, they asked what phone that I had, and I said I had the Nexus 4. And they said, oh, why? I'm going to get the iPhone 5 because it's the 5. It's better than a 4.
Oh, good Lord.
And I was like, well, I mean,
That's rational thinking.
I was like, well, I mean, technically, if you're going by numbers,
I'm going to sell the next device and call it the 47 million. Beat that.
I mean, technically they're right that 5 is larger than 4. I don't know if that makes it any
that's what I was saying. I was like, I mean,
kind of like the ones that said that because it was the iPhone 4, that meant it had 4G.
Yeah. A year ago, everybody thought they had 4G on their iPhone. Yeah.
Apple's entire business model works on that whole idea. People believing that the bigger model number is better.
Yeah,
that's Mozilla's business model too,
they,
right?
They did away with that though, Jeff, when they came out with the new iPad, the new iPad.
But the follower didn't.
Yeah,
nobody knew what to call it. Is it the iPad 3? It's not the iPad 3. It's the new iPad, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, now you can walk into the Apple store and always say, "Is that the new iPad?" They say yes, and you just buy it.
Right, because it's always the new iPad.
Always the new iPad.
I guess
that's brilliant.
So you've got 6 iPad 4s. They're all the same, and each one is better than the next.
I'd start selling iPad 2s at full cost of the new iPad.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then they shrink it down and call it the Mini.
Right. And charge almost as much.
I'm saying in stores.
Right.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, but in more Apple patent litigation, so Google/Motorola and Apple are apparently considering binding arbitration to resolve all of their FRAND patent issues. But Apple's terms for this have been pretty ridiculous. They're basically saying, we want to have binding arbitration that's going to bind your patents, but only on the condition that we can keep suing you for everything else, and none of our things are actually going to be part of the discussion. To which Google more or less responded, hey, we're happy to talk about arbitration, but we actually want to, arbitrate the whole problem, not just, this little piece of it that's going to make it easier for you to come after us in other directions later. Because that's pretty much what Apple was trying to do, was eliminate all of the FRAND issues so they can continue to go after Google and all the other Android makers on design and utility patents.
I think Apple is, I don't know, they live in their own reality.
They very much do live in their own reality, and continuing that theme, in more Apple versus Motorola issues, Google's supposed to be able to review some of Apple's source code to more or less decide whether or not they believe certain things are infringing on certain patents.
Ooh.
And there's a pending deadline for filing coming up in December, so in just a few weeks now. And Apple apparently has been withholding that code from them, which for more legally minded people, that's basically the same thing as withholding evidence. Right? They are legally obligated to provide this discovery material to opposing counsel, and they're refusing to do so. That's the sort of thing that can get lawyers held in contempt of court. Right? Like, this is not smart legal strategy by Apple. This is more of the same crap that they pulled in the UK that got judges very, very angry at them very, very quickly. So I don't know who at Apple is running their legal department, but somebody should remind them that pissing off judges is not a good way to win cases.
It's been working for them so far.
Right.
Yes,
They're so used to
like code that just say, "Oh, okay, whatever you say."
By all means, continue.
Yes. When you have judges
are you
like
on crack?
Prisoner,
Keep
or
going, please.
I can't remember the name of the other one, who say, "No, really, even if we let this go forward, there's not actually any remedy other than you sitting around whining like a little girl. So get out of my courtroom."
Like I said, alternate reality Apple. Right.
Yes.
So, somebody make that a meme. Go.
We can make a game out of that too.
So isn't it? So all right. So I want to see somebody make a Lost mashup with Apple. Go.
What season?
In not quite patent news, apparently the German Federal Environment Agency, which is, I guess, their kind of EPA, is calling for a ban on sealed batteries in cell phones. So basically non-removable batteries for environmental reasons. Basically, the big issue is they're very difficult to recycle. So people, replace their phone every 2 years, and if it doesn't have a removable battery, the phone just goes in the trash. Lithium-ion batteries really ought not go into the trash. That's not good.
So that's the Razer Max, the Nexus 4, the iPhones. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And when they say ban, we aren't really talking about the same kind of ban as, injunction sales bans. We're more talking like this is going to affect regulations on how those sorts of phones have to be built. Basically, it's going to probably have to become easier for the backs to come off and for those non-removable batteries to be removed.
I don't see how that's any different than having a removable battery.
Right. If you're going to make a non-removable back, still difficult to remove but less difficult,
right?
We should just make it more easily removable. And I'm curious.
Well, no, I mean, so the onus is on the person who owns the device to recycle it, right? There's recycling bins at Best Buy and Verizon and T-Mobile. Do you do that? I just throw them in the garbage.
I've never actually thrown away a cell phone.
You know what, Jeff? I care about my environment, so I put mine in a plastic bag and I ship it to Verizon.
Okay.
All right. Do you own a car? Have you ever recycled motor oil?
Yeah, I do.
I'd see it's not feasible.
Well, I don't change my own oil.
That'll do it.
In situations where people do, and you got to haul a big glob of oil all the way uptown to recycle
You guys don't live in the country like you and I do.
That's true, but yeah.
No, even when you live in suburbia, if you're changing your own oil, you still got to drive across town to somewhere you can recycle.
Yeah.
You don't just have
or you go in the woods and dump it.
Corner because you're in suburbia.
Go in the woods and dump it.
Or you can do that, yes.
Yes. It's like, I mean, if you only had a car, are you going to stick it in your trunk and just tote it up down? No.
Right, because it's going to spill.
Just run that stuff to it all disappears from the engine. You don't know where it goes, you know.
Oh, so back to this battery thing. On the, I think we got off on a tangent, but I mean, do you think that this has the potential to, actually start affecting the way that manufacturers are designing their phones to the point that we reverse the trend of non-removable batteries?
I think it depends on sort of where Germany goes with it. If they affect it as more or less a hard ban, where you can't sell a product here unless it has a removable battery, it's definitely going to affect changes because nobody's going to make a German device and then a rest of the world device.
Sure.
Oh, they're just not going to make a German device.
Right. That's a fair point. Germany's not a big enough market to swing that.
Right. So the only way that would have any impact is if Germany can somehow persuade the entire EU to adopt the same policies.
Yeah, if Germany doing it forces the entire economic community that is the EU to do the same thing, that will definitely force a change.
Sure. Well, what are the benefits that we've seen from having non-removable batteries? A lot of people say that it gives us like thinner phones and stuff like that.
You can get a thinner phone, or you can get a larger battery without sacrificing having a thicker phone.
Okay. Okay. Well, I wouldn't mind a little bit thicker phone if I could swap some batteries.
Yeah, it also means that you can make batteries in very irregular shapes.
Right.
Them being able to come out of the device.
The other one seemed to be build quality, and that's really a decision based on what the manufacturers do because they put flimsy plastic doors instead of something that's a little bit more sturdy.
Yeah, I've seen high quality backs that are removed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they're just not really the status quo, unfortunately. But.
Well, looking at like the HTC DNA, the Droid DNA, is that the one that's got the battery right behind the display or something like that? So they've changed the order of the parts. So
yeah,
like in that case,
the battery is pretty challenging because there's stuff between the back and the battery.
Right. So then that kind of, I can see how it opens up this entire can of worms. But I'm curious to see because
it's difficult on the Nexus 4 too, because when you pull the back off, it's got a whole mess of antennas attached to it.
Right. Speaking of the Nexus 4 battery, man, this battery rocks. I just had to toss that out there. Oh my goodness, it's leaps and bounds better than the
Derek,
Galaxy Nexus.
how does your battery last on Edge?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. I have a segment of the show reserved for me for a 5-minute whiny time, as Dan calls it. So I'll talk about it in a minute. But let's get to the part everybody's waiting for, and let's move on and get to the Ingress giveaway number 2, Jeff, and then I'll get to my whiny time. How about that?
Okay. So this time I'm going to ask a question. It's actually a pretty easy question. You're going to have to go to the Android Authority Google Plus page. And you're going to
comment on the original post.
Yep. The first person to correctly answer the question, I will send you the code in a private post.
All right, so let's give everybody a second, if you're watching on YouTube, to find it. So it's google.com/plus Android Authority, all one word. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's where you go to view it. If you're viewing on my stream, Scott's, or somebody else's that happened to share this, make sure you go to the Android Authority post that had the original post, so that way you are participating in the same comments that we're watching. We're not watching any other comments. So, everybody should be on your way there, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so you should be there by now, right? That was fast enough? Okay. All right, Jeff, without further ado, what is your question for the Ingress code?
The question is, what was the first commercially available Android device?
Who's going to be
Nexus 5.
Ooh, that was a harrowing silence after you finished the question. Everybody waited with bated breath.
In case people having streaming issues didn't hear it again, the question is, what was the first commercially available Android device?
Aaron Starr, congratulations, the G1.
Also known as the
HTC Dream.
Woo! That's right.
Way to go, Aaron Starr. You're going to get an Ingress invite.
All right, so Jeff is going to private message you on Google Plus and give you your code. Let us know if it works for you, please, or if it doesn't work as well. All right, so while you're getting your code, let's go to Derek's whiny time because I've had a bunch of questions about it. So try not to spend too much time on this. First, I want to talk about my Nexus 7. Sadly, my Nexus 7 died. It died Thanksgiving Day. I had plugged it in the night before because it was dead. Actually, I used it that afternoon until it died, and I plugged it in when I got home, let it charge all night. I left, did pre-Thanksgiving stuff, came home, next morning woke up, unplugged it, went to turn it on, and it wouldn't turn on. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, well, this happened to me recently before. I let it charge overnight, and it actually didn't charge, so I plugged it back in, hit the power button, and it turned on. But it wasn't the normal, Google logo that I saw. It wasn't the Nexus boot animation. I saw a black screen with a bunch of snow on it, like sparkling, flashing. And after a few minutes, after a few minutes, the device actually booted. And as soon as I saw the unlock screen, it shut back down and rinse and repeat. It went all snowy for a few minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Whenever it shut down, every single color of the rainbow was visible across my screen in a mad dash of flashing frenzy, and it hissed and made a pop.
Did you record it?
It hissed and made a pop?
It didn't happen.
Is it possessed?
I'll tell you what. I actually do have a video. It's not the greatest because I was so I'll get that in a minute. So I messed with it a little bit more. I thought, well, you know what? Something's really bad, but I have the factory images downloaded, so let me go ahead and try to flash them. I tried to get into the bootloader by pressing the power and the volume buttons, and that didn't work. So I unplugged it, plugged it back in, tried to press the power buttons, and nothing. The bootloader, the Google screen never actually appears, so I can't actually get into the bootloader. It just immediately starts booting up. I see the Nexus logo. So after a few times with it doing that, and me trying everything under the sun to get into fast boot mode, I realized that it was probably a hardware issue, and I called Google Play, and they picked up right away. I talked to a very nice guy there by the name of Lance. He's very helpful. They're sending me a new Nexus 7, and it'll probably be here, I'm guessing Monday or Tuesday, depending on shipping. I got a shipping notification the next day.
Shipping free?
Yeah. It's it's advanced RMA, so that means I give them a credit card. They charge me. Well, they put $200 on hold. They hold $200, and then they send me a new one. I get an RMA number, which I already printed out, and a free shipping tag, and I put that on a box and ship it to them. Their shipping center looks at it and says, yep, he didn't smash this down the steps, or yep, it's looks like he physically damaged it, but obviously I didn't, so they're going to credit me the $200 once they get it and realize it wasn't my fault that the device broke.
I don't think they even actually have to analyze the device. They just keep the hold until they receive it.
Well, that's what he told me. He told me they're going to look at it and make sure there's no physical damage to the device, and if it looks like it was the device's fault and not my own, then I'll get my $200 back. They'll release the hold on the funds. Yeah. So they actually didn't charge money. It's just there's a hold on $200, which is fair because I'm sure somebody could drop their device and break it and send it to them and say, hey, I didn't break it. It broke on its own.
Right.
I mean, every RMA I've dealt with for the past 10 years in the IT industry does this. So Google's not doing anything out of the ordinary here. All the big guys do it. Every motherboard manufacturer does it.
They send you a new one before you send your broken one back.
Yeah, but that's because they technically charge me $200 for it. So but either way,
better than having to wait 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get it Monday or Tuesday. I'll check my shipping information. But yeah, so here it is. It unfortunately does not work. But anyway, so I did make a video, and I actually did make a
drop test.
Yeah, now I can use it for a drop test. No, I did do a video of film. I was filming it as I was actually on the phone with the representative, and he put me on hold for a minute while he entered some information, and I was doing a quick video, and I didn't finish the video because he came back to tell me they were going to replace it. So it's like a minute, not even a minute long. I'll post it later so you can look at it. It's not very professional. So anyways, so that's my Nexus 7 story. Now I have a Nexus 4 story, but I'll try to cut it short here because we're running out of time. So yeah, I had a Nexus 7 for a little over a week now, Nexus 4 for a little over a week now, and the big thing for me was I was not going to get it because I have horrible GSM coverage here. It's a Verizon-dominated area. The GSM here is basically like an island with Verizon surrounding it is the sea, and that's just how it is. But unfortunately, I have this shirt that says Android on it, and this hat has Android on it, all this Android stuff back behind me, and all that stuff overpowered me, my fanboyism, to buy the device and test it out anyways. I found out my voice coverage is pretty much the same as Verizon. When I have one bar, I can't make a phone call. When I have one bar on Verizon, I can make a phone call, and it's great on my Galaxy Nexus. I don't need full signal. Data, yeah, Edge is slow. 4 bars of... Hey, but you know what? I can play Ingress on 4 bars of Edge, and I can post on Google Plus and interact on Google Plus. It's a little slower, but 4 full bars of Edge is doable. It's like 1 bar of 3G, so it's not bad.
I think Edge goes up to 170K, doesn't it?
I did a...
It goes higher than that, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not the greatest. I don't know. I did speed tests at work where I have HSPA Plus. I'm on AT&T's network with Straight Talk, and I have HSPA at work, and I did a speed test, and I was getting between 3 and 6 meg down.
How many bars?
That was with 4 bars. You know, sometimes I get 2, but then on average it was between 3 and 6. And that's really slow compared to what I'm used to. Then the next day I was in another town that had HSPA Plus, and I did a speed test on my Galaxy Nexus on Verizon's LTE, and I got 9 down. So it was 3 times as fast, depending on the results. So it was a lot faster, but that was okay. 3 to 6 is fast enough for the majority of stuff I want to do. I was able to stream a video and whatever. That's fine. And then the next day I was in a different town that has HSPA Plus, and I got 17 down with Verizon LTE, and I got 1 down with HSPA Plus, and a little part of me died. And then today, when I went to drive to meet Dan, on the way down, I noticed I had, because I was being safe in my car and doing a speed test, I noticed I had I had 4 bars of LTE. I was like, let's do a speed test. Got 18 meg down. Picked up my Nexus 4 to do a comparable test. Oops, no service. That was sad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was on G. Not even Edge, just G.
I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I mean, I have my Verizon. Technically, my Verizon contract runs out in a month, so I have a month to figure out what I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. If I'm going to stay with the phone or not. The phone's amazing. I mean, the build quality is great. I absolutely love it. It feels great in my hand. It's so much lighter than what I'm used to. I mean, I don't know. I love holding it. It's a great phone. It's an amazing phone. It's probably the best phone I've ever owned. Instead, I love this thing. It's great. It's going to be really hard to give up something that I love, but if I can't use it to its fullest, I don't know. I'm trying to find more Wi-Fi. I'm using Wi-Fi more than I used to use, so we'll see what happens. In another week, maybe I'll come back and say, yeah, I decided I can't do it, especially, when Verizon's looking to complete their LTE network in about 7 months. My area right now is 3G. I'll probably have LTE in the next, 3 to 6 months.
So you need Verizon's coverage, because they're the only place that covers you?
Yeah. Where I live, Verizon's
in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
I do.
So what about the Droid? What about the Droid DNA? Unlock the bootloader and slap some CM on it whenever it's some.
And that's what I'm really thinking about. But if I get the Droid DNA, then I have to renew my Verizon contract or spend $650. So I don't know. It's a big decision. And I'm going to go back and forth on it at least 6 more times before I figure out what I'm doing, because that's what I do.
That's what you do.
We got a couple questions I want to hit on real quick on YouTube. So Acer Chromebook. Yeah, I mean it's not really Android related, but it's Google related. We're all Google fans. Yeah, it's $50 cheaper than the Samsung counterpart, and it has a massive hard drive in it. But I would go for the Sammy in my opinion.
Go for the Samsung for sure.
I hate Samsungs, and I'd still recommend the Samsung.
We actually had 2 different. Actually, the same guy asked 2 questions about that, and then another guy on YouTube asked about. Would you say the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 for Sprint would be good? I mean, the Note 2 is a hell of a phone on any carrier.
Note 2 seems like it's a very solid device.
Is he asking if it's objectively good or if it's good compared to he
didn't say compared to what? Is it objectively good? Yeah,
it's a good phone.
Yeah, very powerful. Big. The one thing you've got to take into consideration is how big your hand is.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do a lot of
or how big your face is.
So if you're a 110-pound girl, it's not a good phone.
Yeah.
You don't need to have huge hands, but it's just going to be a little bit difficult with smaller hands. But, I mean, if you want the bigger size screen, It's an awesome phone for that.
Yeah, I'll be
And I
getting
highly
mine
recommend,
in
like,
this
a
week. So if
a
anybody wants
Bluetooth
to know other
headset or
Verizon.
something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'd be one of those creepy guys going around with the Bluetooth headset in. Dang it.
Talking to himself all the time.
Yeah.
That
You always
is-
turn around and you're like, what?
And last comment here, we have another YouTuber saying that they're basically upset with this being a biased channel. When we talk about Android versus Apple, we're biased. Well, it's not called Smartphone Authority.
No.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that the
or
people
TechCrunch.
running 9 to 5 Mac or anything like that are not objectively talking about Android.
You know, I mean, it's just I'm a little biased, yeah. But
Well, I
whatever.
think you
I don't know
pick
if it's bias when you say things like Apple stole their notification system.
Well, I
Apple is on a reckless, litigious course that's outrageous and unprecedented. These are biased statements. These are objective statements.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry
and
if you're
if
an
we-
Apple fan and you think you're being slighted by that, but those are objectively fair statements to make.
Maybe we'll start next week with a disclaimer, like, hey, you know,
Disclaimer.
we
hate hype.
we like Android, so we're gonna say things that we like about it. The end.
We're the Android Authority. We're going to bash them for 45 minutes.
I'd be curious to, once the dust settles with all this news lately happening, get some iOS people on here and we battle it out,
Crap
just
out of them.
talking about it. I think that might be interesting.
Sure. There's some great people I've got in mind. Ooh, yes, let's do that. That'd be fun.
It sounds like an interesting conversation.
We'll keep it civil.
Yeah.
We'll take them out for a nice seafood dinner, and then we won't call them back the next day.
I love that movie.
All right, well, if there's no further questions, Jeff, did you send your code out to the winner?
I did.
He got it and it's working?
I have no idea. I sent it to him. He didn't reply to me.
All right, so
He's probably playing Ingress right now.
he already left his house and he's hacking portals. All right, so who won here? Aaron Starr. Please let us know. Please reply to Jeff's post, our post, something. Let us know if it worked for you. If not, we'll figure something out. All right. Thank you guys very much. And
so if you guys want to listen to us during the week, or if you can't make our live show at all, you can find us on SoundCloud, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, iTunes. We have an RSS feed. If you go to the website, androidauthority.com, if you scroll down to the bottom right, there's a section called On Air. Click on that, and that will be all of our posts and all of our episodes into a nice little feed there. Also, you can just check us out on YouTube. The audio links will be there as well.
all right.
Anything else, guys?
And as I was saying earlier, thanks guys for showing up. Good luck on the Nexus 10, and congrats to those who won your Ingress invites. Viva la Restance.
Remember, the world is not what it seems. Hey-o!
Good night, guys. Thanks for coming.
Hey.
Take it easy.